I was living with my buddy, and he lives right in. There's a famous triangle in the Northeast where all these UFO sightings are, and the original story of the what was the older couple that got abducted from their car?
Oh yeah, I always forget their name. They were left
I
in the
always forget
car.
it
I
too.
know. I
It's
don't know
all good.
why. It's hard to always remember their name. Barney something.
Barney and Betty Hill. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I had moved in with him right after his dad had passed away of alcoholism, sadly, and I was helping him basically just fix up the house and get everything, to where it's livable again.
Hmm.
And this is probably about a year and a half into living there. And he worked nights on the computer, so he was up all night, and I'm a night owl too, so I'm up all night. And we always see some, some strange stuff in the sky, some stuff that we pretty much are like, oh yeah, that's probably military, stuff like that. But this was like middle of the winter, like deep, deep winter. And the other story also happened right around the same time. Um, and I'm like laying in bed, getting ready to go to bed. I end up dozing off. I'm fully asleep at this point, and then I like wake up with like the worst cold sweats of my life. I'm thinking like, am I sick or what? And I look outside and there's like this odd glow around the house. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I like go to get up and I can't move. Sorry, I'm getting a little worked up.
It's all good.
I can't move, and I'm like stuck in my bed. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this shit? And I grew up listening to all these stories about aliens and shit, and I always kind of like pass it off, especially the ones that are like, the Greys and all this shit. I was kind of like, why would they be bipedal? Why would they be human? They could be anything, right?
Hmm.
Because they're in space. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Right.
Sorry for my language.
Mm.
Um, and I'm sitting there, I can't move. I'm like, what is going on? And all of a sudden I feel this like tingling go through my whole body, and I go to scream, like literally guttural scream, like I'm scared, like there's something medically wrong with me. And I'm looking out and the light keeps getting brighter and brighter, and I'm like, there's no way my homie who's right across the hall from me, like our house is, the house was like a ranch. It's, it's pretty small. You can't, if anything's going on, people are going to be able to hear or see. We have big windows on the house, so it's pretty easy. And then I start to lift out of my, sorry, I start to lift out of my bed, and like at this point I'm stunned. Like I can't move, I can't talk. And then I black out the second I see my, because I'm looking down at my feet at this point, and I see like my blankets just start moving by themselves, like off of my body. And at this point, like I black out the second it the hits my feet, and I wake up and I'm in this like cold, damp environment, and there are like seven or eight tall, tall beings standing around me, and they look like they're in like a doctor's, like it's like a doctor setting, and I'm like, these things are communicating with each other. I'm picking up every third word, but there's no mouths on these things, and they're not talking. It's like all like how people say telepathic, like
Yep.
I'm like picking up every third word because I don't, of course, I don't understand it. They're not speaking English, but I can kind of, from their intonation and what they're doing, like what is going on, dude? And at this point, I'm trying to scream. Like at this point, I'm like screaming. I'm freaking out. I'm losing it. And like the main, what I would call like the head doctor, like just comes up and like looks at me with these like loving, caring eyes, which was like the most odd thing that I've ever seen. He looked at me like I was a hurt animal, and then like he like did something, and then I blacked out again, and then I woke up back in my bed, and this time I actually like the second I woke up, I like, oh, like screamed, and my buddy ran into the room. He's like, "Yo, are you good? Are you good?" And I'm like, "Dude, something just happened to me." I like I and this dude I grew up with, so I shared everything with him and like told him what happened, and he like, to me, I don't tell stories like this. I don't do anything. So he's like obviously freaking out too. His girlfriend's freaking out. And she's like, "Do we need to call someone? Do we need to do something? Do we need to bring you to the hospital?" I'm like, "No, like I'm good now, like cuz my body was fine." Um I did a whole check on myself in the mirror. Like I was having a serious moment,
Mm.
like tears in my eyes, freaking out. And he's like, okay, like you're good, you're here, you're safe. I got a gun if anything happens, blah, blah, blah. And so I explained to him, like, I blacked out, but now that I'm looking back like a memory, like I can see myself leaving the window, going through a solid glass window, like it was liquid. And like, so I come back down to earth. I'm like chilling out. He's like, "Did you eat anything before dinner? Did you have, milk? What, because things can mess up with your stomach."
Yep.
And so I'm like, "No, like I went through my whole day, walked through them." And so like, he's like, "Well, what happened?" I'm like, I explained it to him, and he's like, "Damn, dude, that's like something out of like a cartoon, like a something stupid that you would see on a movie." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, this freaked me out." And he's like, "Well, like, were you scared?" And I was like, "Of course, I was trying to scream, but I couldn't scream when when the thing first happened. I wasn't able to scream until I was back in my body, in my bed. The sheets and covers were back on me, like I was like completely undisturbed. You know what I mean?"
Mm.
But I was still straight as a plank when I woke up. Because when I first, before it happened, like I was in my bed completely like flat as a plane, like because I was frozen in fear. And when I came back to and woke up in my bed again, I was in the same position, like I had like not been disturbed at all. And so he was like, okay, well, he comforted me, made me feel really good. And then as time went on, I noticed that like I had like, I'm pretty religious, so I believe in like sin and stuff. And I had these things that I was struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And like this one thing that just like was really eating away at my heart and eating away at my soul, like all of that want, all of that need, all of that like, that thing that drives you to sin was like gone
Mm.
of that particular sin. And like, so I'm like telling, my buddy about this, and he's like, this is like months after it happened. And he's like, really? Like, you don't struggle with that anymore? I'm like, no, dude, I haven't done it in months. I've no struggles with it. He's like, holy shit, dude, I think they just did surgery on you. And I was like, damn, dude, like, yeah, it freaked me out. But at the same time, now I look at like those, I look at some of those things as like maybe they're game wardens. Like they're here to like watch us and observe us for whoever. And like if a cow gets sick or, like a person's dealing with something, they can come down and do surgery. I don't know, man. But I
Man,
just know I haven't struggled with that thing ever since. And I'm like,
uh,
all right, W aliens. Like, all right.
I know. I'm sure there's people listening who are like, "This sounds completely crazy," and it does. But I've interviewed a lot of people who have like exactly the same story. Some people are like, "Well, maybe it was a MyLab, like a military abduction," but
Yeah, I
but
mean, it
like,
could be anything, but these things were like clearly like when I was on I'll call it the operating table, like
mhm,
these things were like 7, 8 foot tall, and they didn't have mouths,
yep,
and like I said, it's like the typical alien you would think of in pop culture, right? Like that's stupid. People make up
the
stories
light
and shit,
bulb head with the
but like
big
I'm telling
eyes.
you from firsthand experience, this thing like changed my life, and like I'm glad it did because I don't struggle with that thing anymore. But I'm also like these things don't have any concept of consent. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think looking at them like a game warden is a pretty good way of seeing it, if that's what it is. The tingling that you started to feel before it happened, would you say that's like when a limb falls asleep or something different?
Yeah, kind of close to that. Like it's very, very close to like if you ever had like a really bad Charlie horse. Yeah, like
Hmm.
but it was all over my body, like the
And
whole of my body.
did
There
it
was not an
start?
inch of my body where I was not feeling this tingle.
I'm sorry if I missed this part. Did it start in one place and then move around, or was it the whole body at once?
It was like a grow like how when you start to have your leg fall asleep, you can feel it build up. It
Hmm.
was like that.
Okay. And you said you checked yourself for markings. I guess you found nothing.
Yeah, nothing, man. Like nothing physically was done to my body, but something was clearly done to like my not my soul, but like the internal things that you have in your brain, right?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Um, and you said you could hear them. They're communicating telepathically. Did you hear other sounds?
Not, it was kind of like being underwater. Like there was no, it was like listening to people. If you've ever been underwater as a kid and like heard people talking outside of the pool,
Hmm.
like it was kind of like that.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
And the one main doctor was the only one who had that like comforting look in his eyes.
Yeah, like it was like they weren't paying attention to me at first. You know, they were like looking at notes or whatever they were doing, like a doctor would do. And then like they noticed I was like freaking out, like I had awoken and I was freaking out.
Hmm.
And like the main one like walked up to me and like looked at me in the eyes, and like all I could feel like telepathically was him saying like, "It's okay, you're gonna be okay. We're not gonna hurt you." That type of thing, like you do with a dog if it broke its leg or something.
Right, right. That's wild. And nothing else? No other I wouldn't say losing that one, I guess, need to sin or the feeling of sin having been removed. It's not really a symptom. I guess that's a bit of a cure. But has there been other things you've observed that are different about you since then?
Yeah, I'm just way more content with my life, and like I don't like feel, because I struggled with depression growing up the whole time,
Mm.
and like I'm clinically diagnosed and all that. And ever since then, like I've just been really content no matter where I'm in life, no matter how hard things get. I know that God's watching over me, and I know that whatever those things were, they clearly weren't demonic. Like that, I've heard of people saying aliens can be demonic or these things in the sky could be demonic.
Mm.
Whatever the ones I encountered were, like it was like I said, they were like a game warden that found a bear that was stuck in a bear trap, and like they were just there to help me.
That's wild. That is a
Yeah,
wild story.
yeah, you're telling me. And I always thought these were like fun stories growing up. Like they were just like, cool pop culture things. And now I look back at it, I'm like, maybe these people, these sightings of these things are not as crazy as people make them out to be.
Yeah.
And like my mother is completely religious, and I like have the hardest time like basically coming out and telling her about this story, because I'm like, oh, she's gonna think I got possessed or something like that. And like I finally came out about this story like maybe a month or two ago to her, and she was like, I'm just glad that you're not struggling with that sin anymore. And she says, I'm gonna pray for you that that doesn't happen again and all that stuff. And she's my mom. She was comforting. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's been very hard because I don't come out and tell stories like this to people in my own personal life.
Right.
The only reason I told my homie was because he heard me when I woke up screaming,
Have
and
Have you
everyone
noticed?
else I've just never. It's been tight lid on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh yeah, I understand, and that's something a lot of people share with me as well, who've told me very similar stories. But I'm curious, have you noticed? Has anyone come to you to share with you UFO abduction stories without you even bringing it up?
No, not
Okay,
yet. But like I said, it's only been probably 2 years since the incident.
okay,
So
that seems to be something that happens to other people.
Like an egregore effect,
Like, explain that.
like a hive mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, maybe not so much like that, but more like from people I've talked to, it's like something about them gives off some energy, they say, or that they feel that way, that makes other people feel open to telling them that they've had an experience.
Like one Spider-Man
yeah,
identifying another
I
one.
don't think
Oh yeah,
any
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
no one's come to me with an abduction story, but people have been more open about like their feelings about what these things in our skies could be, and
Hmm.
like people have been more open to me as a person in general. Yes, I definitely agree.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, thank you for calling in and sharing that story, and call back sometime so we can hear the Skinwalker
Absolutely, I'd
story.
love to share the Skinwalker
Okay.
story. I call it a Wendigo because I kind of
Sick.
try to respect the Native American, and their tradition. So, but
Well,
I
yeah.
definitely had an encounter with one of those, me and my buddy, and he can actually back me up for it because he was there.
Okay. Awesome. Call back. I'm hearing from people that definitely want to hear the story. I want to hear the story. So we'll look forward to you calling back.
Absolutely, man.